Middle Path Radio, your number one online Islamic talk station.
Alhamdulillah wa alamin wa salatu wa salamu ashraf al-anbiya al-mursalin nabiyana Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam wa alayhi tasliman jami'an kathira. I apologize in advance. I have a sore throat and you're going to hear, I think, my coughing and surround sound. So apologies if your eardrums hurt. How many of you were here for the last two? Secret History of Mecca, Secret History of Medina. Okay, at least half of you. Does anyone remember some of the lessons that we learnt from the Secret History of Mecca or the Secret History of Medina? Any lesson that you, because the whole point of the lecture isn't for me to just tell you stories. I do that with my children when they, the 6-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and 2-year-old, when I'm putting them to bed. It's not just stories. The whole point of a story is to take away a lesson from it. So what I really want to make sure is I'm not just coming here babysitting all of you guys, Friday night, go for your lullaby with Dr. Waj, and he's going to tell you some nice stories, you go away and don't take any lessons. So inshallah, that's my aim. I'm going to emphasize a little bit more on the lessons, inshallah, because that's the most important thing. Otherwise, when it's like the people in the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about, when stories are told to them, they say, قَالَ أَسَاطِيرَ الْأَوَّلِينَ. These are stories of old. These are old fables. These are old stories. Why are you telling them this? Why are you telling us these stories? Who cares what happened with Musa and Fir'aun? Who cares what happened with Nuh alayhi salam? It's a long time ago. It's nothing to do with me. But there's a reason for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to put these stories in the Quran. And there's a reason why stories are the way human beings connect. It's because that's how you're going to learn a lesson. That's how we're going to change the way we think. So, inshallah, today we're going to talk about the secret history of Jerusalem. And full disclosure, I've never been there. But we'll still manage to talk a little bit about it, inshallah. Jerusalem is an ancient city. And this city was inhabited before by various tribes and various kingdoms. But there's something that happened in Jerusalem that makes it extremely dear for us. We know that Jerusalem was the first Qibla, but an event took place and it started around here in Masjid al-Haram. This is a place, and I don't think you can see it, but there's a gentleman who's sleeping in the corner. When you go to the Haram, again, you're on Umrah, you're just trying to get through, you're trying to remember which number tawaf you're on, number 5 or 6, you can't remember, and you're asking your mate, is it 5, is it 6, I can't remember. He's like, I'm sure it was 7, and you end up doing 9. When you're not paying attention, you miss clues which might be opening the door to a secret. So I used to see people who were sleeping in the randomest places, right? Everyone, obviously, you're tired, it's hot, you take a nap. Now, the Masjid al-Haram has lots of carpets everywhere, as anyone who's been there will tell you. You'd see some guy, there's carpet everywhere, empty. He's not sleeping on the carpet, he's sleeping on the floor. And you're like, okay, what's wrong with this guy? And he's not just sleeping on the floor, he's sleeping next to the stairs. And so when I see something like that, I just get annoyed. I was like, man, what's wrong with this guy? Why does he have to sleep on the hard floor instead of the carpet? And if he's going to sleep on the hard floor, maybe he's got a bad back or something, maybe he doesn't like carpets, he doesn't like luxury, God knows. He's sleeping next to the stairs. Any minute he could fall off and hurt himself. And look, everyone is climbing the stairs like, this guy's sleeping right here. Where else? Didn't find anywhere else to sleep. But what I didn't know was the reason that they sleep in those random places. Because one of those random places, over here, was where the house of Hani was. Hani was a cousin of the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ was visiting her family, and he went to sleep one night, and then the events of Isra and Miraj took place. And we all know the events of Isra and Miraj, right? The Prophet ﷺ was woken up, he went, and it was, you could see, this is not very far from the Kaaba, right? It's literally like, a few steps and you get there. And he went, Jibreel alayhi salam was there, and took the Prophet alayhi salam to Jerusalem. And when they went to Jerusalem, the Prophet alayhi salam rode on al-Buraq, this winged creature, winged horse type creature. And the Prophet alayhi salam rode and went. And apparently there's no evidence to confirm this, but that's what they say, that this is the ring that the Prophet ﷺ tied Buraq to. Now, we know what happened in Isra and Miraj. Prophet ﷺ went from Mecca to Jerusalem, and he went up all the way to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly. And this is Masjid al-Buraq, which is built around at that location where Buraq was tied. And then took place, as the brother was mentioning, the greatest meeting in the history of mankind. The greatest meeting in the history of mankind. If we were sitting here and all of a sudden, a president or a king or the queen, someone came in who was, the most important person of that country, of one country, it'd be a big deal. People would be there, cameras out, everyone would be, standing in a line, everything would be clean, people would be wearing their best clothes, just for one person. Now imagine the greatest people in the history of mankind, every single prophet. And this is a picture, it's a picture you zoomed out, you can't see who's there. But we know that there must have been over 100,000 prophets, roughly. We don't know what the exact number is, but we think there's over 100,000. Take a step back and think about that congregation. Think about that meeting. And then, who's speaking to who? Who's meeting with who? And then they pray. And when they pray, our Prophet ﷺ leads the prayer. Who's in the audience? Right? Think about it. When you're in the row, if you were standing like on any big sheikh, if you were in prayer and you were next to Mufti Menk, you would be like, wow, I'm standing next to Mufti Menk. You're still in prayer, right? Or the president of this country or whatever, he's in the same row as me. Imagine Ibrahim alayhi salam and who's next to him? Is this his son, Ismail alayhi salam? Is he behind Adam alayhi salam? Is two rows down, is that Musa alayhi salam? Is that Yahya alayhi salam? What kind of prayer is that? And what's the lesson that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us? He's teaching us a lesson. Firstly, in this day and age, especially for us in this day and age, we don't meet anyone. Meetings are not something we do, right? We do everything online. You want to learn Islam? Go online. You want to get a fatwa? Go to WhatsApp. WhatsApp your mate, right? Bro, what do you think? Do you think it's halal? What's going on? Do you think this is acceptable? Do you think that's not acceptable? Ask the Mufti online, right? Find out everything online. We don't meet anyone. Isn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala able to do that? Did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have to pick up the Prophet ﷺ and physically transport him to Jerusalem? Why didn't he just give the Prophet ﷺ a dream? Like usual, standard practice, right? Here you go, here's a dream. Pray 5 times a day. Job done. No. This is not just for drama. This is not for show. This is because of a number of things. One is to teach us true knowledge. True knowledge, you have to move. It doesn't come to you at the end of a phone. You can get information, but wisdom, knowledge, you got to go and meet the people in which that knowledge resides. You need to see it. Do you see it? Do you travel? Have you moved? Have you met people? That's one lesson. The second lesson, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us, because we learned, I told you this last time, right? We hear all the time, the Prophet ﷺ is the greatest, he's the best, he's the most amazing. Sorry, I think somebody's just going crazy. What's happening to me? I'll just turn this off. He's the best of the creation. We hear these, but what does it mean? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing us what it means. He goes, I assembled every prophet. And why? They needed to see the end of the story. Every single prophet that has come has told his people about the ending, right? The end game. There will be a man who comes. His name will be Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they all wished to be behind him. They all wished to see that day. So as a special privilege that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has only given to the prophets, it doesn't matter if they were Adam alayhi salam, or they died 500 years before, or they died 100 years before, or whatever, or it doesn't matter which part of the world they were from, He allowed them all to come and meet the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Do we want to meet him that much? Do we yearn to meet him? And they prayed behind him. They would see it as a privilege to be part of his ummah. We are automatically part of his ummah. Do we feel that privilege? This is history come to life. You imagine, close your eyes and think about what that meeting was like. And then we know what happened from that meeting. That the Prophet ﷺ, he went up. If you go to the Masjid al-Aqsa, you'll find that in the area, there's this thing, it's called the Dome of the Ascension. And this is where it's important, history is important, right? That looks like a Muslim building, right? It was built by the Crusaders. This is a fake. The Crusaders, for some reason, built this building, made it look like a Muslim building, and it's called the Dome of the Ascension. And for some reason, the Muslims haven't got rid of it yet. But it has no historical significance. Where we believe the Prophet ﷺ went up to heaven is from this rock, from which comes the dome of the rock. The Prophet ﷺ put his foot and ascended to heaven. This rock is also very holy in Judaism. They believe that this is their holy of holies, that nobody is allowed to go there, they're not allowed to set foot there. And at the bottom, inside there is the well of souls. And Muslims go there, it's a prayer area for us now, still to this day, and you can go and pray over there. Now, when the Prophet ﷺ came back from speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he stood in a place. Where did he stand? He stood in Hijr Ismail, in the Hatim. You know, I showed you in the first place, in the first lecture, the Kaaba is square and they've got that semicircle. That's where the Prophet ﷺ stood. And he told everyone about what happened. But when he told everyone, a lot of people, they left Islam. A lot of people, they were like, this is mumbo jumbo. I can't believe this. I'm walking. I didn't sign up to this. I didn't sign up for these stories. And the non-Muslims, they couldn't believe their luck. They were like, my God, he's done our job for us. He's talking about Jerusalem, this, that, and the other. Job done. We don't need to, everyone's going to leave now. They're going to walk away from him. Except who? This man. Do you want to know, do you ever wonder how Abu Bakr anhu got his title, As-Siddiq? This is how he got his title. Because when Abu Bakr anhu, he wasn't there. But when he was coming, someone ran up to him and said, Did you hear what your friend was doing? Did you hear what your friend is saying? He goes, what is he saying? He said he went to Jerusalem, and then he went to Jannah, and he came back, and from Jerusalem back to Mecca, and all in the same night. What did Abu Bakr do? Again, this is a lesson for us. He didn't say, rubbish, I didn't believe you. And he didn't say, I believe you 100% straight away. He said, did you hear it yourself? With your own ears? He goes, yes, I heard it myself. Then he goes, then I believe him. The guy was shocked. He goes, what? No, you're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to say that you're not supposed to believe him. He goes, what are you talking about? I believe that he speaks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly. This is nothing. Going to Jerusalem and up to heaven, what is that? That's nothing. Since that day, Abu Bakr anhu became known as As-Siddiq. So the title of Abu Bakr anhu, it originates in Jerusalem. In what happens in Jerusalem. Then let's talk about after the Prophet ﷺ died, Abu Bakr anhu became Khalifa, and after Abu Bakr anhu, Umar anhu became Khalifa. And in Umar anhu's time, Jerusalem, this was the bishop of Jerusalem. His name was Sophronius. He's a very intelligent man. Actually, a lot of these bishops, they were really intelligent. They saw what was happening. That these guys, these Muslims came out of nowhere and just conquering. So what Sophronius did was, he told the Muslims, he goes, listen, I'm going to give you the keys, that's fine. I'm going to hand over Jerusalem to you, but I need you guys to show some respect for Jerusalem, the status of Jerusalem. So I need you guys to send your leader, Umar anhu, to come. And people said to Umar anhu, don't go, you stay here. But Umar anhu was like, nah, I mean, if it means that, there's no bloodshed, I'll go. And you know the story. If you don't know the story, you should know it. When Umar anhu went with a servant. And they took turns on this donkey that they were traveling on. You ride for part of the way and I lead the donkey, and then we switch. It's just so happened that when they were reaching Jerusalem, right? Umar anhu was the one leading the donkey. And he happened to either slip or go through some mud. And it was well known that Umar anhu's clothes had multiple patches on it. Now, Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah anhu, one of the big Kubar Sahaba, they were given new clothes. Khalid ibn Walid anhu, Abu Ubaidah anhu, they were all given new clothes by this guy. He was like on a charm offensive. He was like, I need to make these guys my friends. Yeah? So he gave them nice clothes, nice robes. They wore their best clothes, dripping with jewels. All the bishops lined up, all the people lined up. They had a nice red carpet. And they're all standing there waiting for Umar anhu. And then, to the horror of Abu Ubaidah anhu and Khalid ibn Walid anhu, they see from a distance Umar anhu covered in mud, wearing his patches, leading the donkey. Now the rest of the people, they don't know who Umar anhu is, so they go up to the servant and they're like, welcome great man, welcome to our city. And the servant's like, I'm not the great man, it's this guy. They're like, no, welcome to our city. And Abu Ubaidah anhu was like, oh my God. So he ran up in front and he told Umar anhu, he was very upset. Abu Ubaidah anhu said, you've embarrassed us. You really embarrassed us today. Look at the way you're turning up. Umar anhu got angry. And he shoved Abu Ubaidah anhu in the chest and said, we are a people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given dignity through Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are a people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us dignity through Islam. The minute we seek dignity anywhere other than Islam, we will be humiliated. That is a lesson for us, brothers and sisters. That is our legacy. Our dignity is not in building big buildings that reach the stars. Our dignity isn't in the clothes we wear. It's not in our food. It's not in anything. In our tribes, in our passport. It's in our faith. And if you seek it from anywhere else, then you'll be trash. You will be trash. You will be treated like trash. Like we are today, right? Everyone talks about us. Oh yeah, where you come from? You're from Bangladesh? You're from Pakistan? What do they talk about our countries? Third world. There's a first world. Have you ever thought about there's no second world, right? There's a first world and a third world. Because they need to show how far down you are. You're not even in the running. You can't even reach us. There's no second world. Like you could, maybe we could get there. No, you can't. You're third world. Because we've always been seeking for the last 150 years, we've been seeking dignity through what? Through the clothes that we wear, through the passport that we have, through our tribes and our nation, wherever, anything, through fake things that we hold on to. Umar anhu taught us well. What did they say to Khalid ibn Walid anhu? When the Romans were negotiating with Khalid ibn Walid anhu, Khalid ibn Walid anhu had just their behinds. He had beat them again and again and again and again. So then the big Roman general was like, come here, come. We'll negotiate. This was his negotiation. Now imagine, the Roman general has been beaten many times now. What do you think he's going to say? 50-50? No. He goes, listen, here's my deal. I'm going to give each one of your warriors 1 silver coin, and I'm going to give you 2 gold coins. Now get lost. That was his deal. Let's be honest, yeah? You guys came here because you're hungry and you're naked. You're hungry and you have no food, and you have no clothes. That's why you're here, right? Can you imagine someone talking to you, looking down on you like that? What was Khalid ibn Walid anhu's reply? He goes, you're right. We are hungry and we are naked. We don't have much food and we don't have much clothes. But we're not living here until we take everything. They had a sense of dignity that we don't possess today. Anyway, Sophronius came. They realized that this is not a normal person. Umar Anhu is not a normal man. The way he acted, the way he dressed. And they started showing him around. So this whole area, a lot of times people, they get it wrong. They think that building is Masjid al-Aqsa. That's not. That's the Dome of the Rock. They think that building is Masjid al-Aqsa. That's not. That's the Qibli mosque. The mosque at the Qibla. This whole platform, from here to there, the whole platform, that is the area of Masjid al-Aqsa, or the Haram al-Sharif. That whole area. There are multiple mosques. There's a mosque here, there's a mosque there, there's a mosque there, there's a mosque there. There are multiple mosques and multiple areas over there. But the whole area is a masjid for us. Now, because the Christians had driven out the Jews, they had turned this area into a garbage dump. And they had thrown the Jews away. The Jews were not allowed to be within even looking distance of Jerusalem. They were not even allowed to look at it with their eyes as a punishment. So most of the Jewish tribes, they dispersed across the world. But a small group of them, they literally lived like the Romans said that you can only go up to this level. They literally lived right there on the edge. They wanted to be as close to Jerusalem as possible. So this area was trash, full of trash. Umar Anhu went and started cleaning it with his own hands. And then ordered a masjid, a wooden mosque to be built where the Qibli masjid is today. After he was doing that, Sophronius, again on his charm offensive, he's really trying, again, you can learn something even from Sophronius, right? He preserved everything he needed to preserve. He's like, look, this is coming. The Muslims are coming. But I need to preserve my Christian heritage. I need to preserve for my Christian people their sites. So I'm going to be as nice, as kind as I can be to these guys. So he took Umar Anhu. He was like, let me show you around. I'm going to do a tour guide. Let me show you this and show you that. Maybe you could buy a bit. No, I'm not buying. But anyway, so he took him to this place, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre is where the Christians believe that 2 things happen. Isa a.s., they believe he was crucified there. So the mountain over there that they believe he was crucified on is in this church, and they believe he was buried here as well. So he was showing Umar Anhu around. And when he showed Umar Anhu around, it became time for Asr prayer. What did Umar Anhu do? So Umar Anhu was like, it's time for prayer, I need to pray. So Sophronius was like, wow, just pray here, it's okay. Umar Anhu was like, no. If I pray here now, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but at some point, the Muslims are going to be like, you know what, Umar Anhu prayed here, we're going to build a masjid right here. And that's going to create a lot of trouble for you. If we could close that door over there so I'm not disturbing the person praying, that would be useful, please. So he said, Umar Anhu was like, no, I can't pray here. Let me go pray somewhere else. And Sophronius was like, no, what are you talking about? Nobody's going to do that, it's okay. But Umar Anhu, here's a lesson. Don't think about what's going to happen now. Think about what's going to happen in 100 years' time. When you do something, think about what's going to happen in 100 years' time. Right? When you don't take a day off for Eid, when you go to school and you don't take a day off for Eid, or you go to work and you don't take a day off for Eid, what's going to happen? I'll tell you what happens. I saw it myself with my own eyes. On Eid day, there was a man, he was crying. Oldish man. We went up to him and said, oh, what's wrong? He goes, the trouble is that when I was working, I never took a day off for Eid. So because I never took the day off for Eid, my kids didn't take time off from school either. So we basically didn't do Eid. I mean, they came back and then, maybe they would wear some clothes and we'd go to somebody's house, but it wasn't really a big day. It was just like any other day. So, but we all took time off for Christmas because everyone got Christmas off, right? So I didn't think much of it, but now I'm older and Eid day comes, my children, they don't even come, they don't take a day off because they never used to take a day off. I didn't used to take a day off, so they don't come and visit me on Eid. They don't even phone me. I have to phone them. Christmas Day, they're all here. Some got turkey and one's got a tree and everything. You're laughing, but this is what's happening. The majority, I'm telling you right now, majority of Muslims in this country celebrate Christmas, not Eid. The majority of Muslims have Christmas off. Almost none of them will take Eid off. Less than half of them will take Eid off. Because you devalue it. You're not seeing, when you're doing it, you're not seeing what's going to happen in the future. Umar Anhu always was looking what would happen in the future. If I do this, what will happen next? What will happen next? So Umar Anhu went out onto the steps and he prayed on the steps. What happened? Masjid Umar. Some 100 years later, Muslims were like, Umar Anhu prayed on these steps. I'm sorry, this is part of it. We're going to have to make a masjid here. This is exactly what happened. It prevented a war between Muslims and Christians. That we're like, no, we're going to pray over here. We're going to have to make a masjid. Umar Anhu prayed here. No. He knew what he did. And look what he did. He prayed on the steps. We built a masjid on those steps. It's also an example of tolerance. You see what happened on Wednesday. And it's easy for us to say, that's not us. What happened in Westminster, that's nothing to do with us. But you need to know what is our real history. And then you will understand what true tolerance is. That church of the Holy Sepulchre, it's the most holiest site in the whole of Christianity. The holiest site in Christianity. And there are many Christian denominations, they're Lutherans, they're Catholics, they're Protestants, they're Armenian Church, there's the Greek Orthodox, and they all fight over space and who gets which area. So who gets the keys? This guy and his family, Muslims. The holiest site in the whole of Christianity is administered by Muslims. Why? Why? They didn't find anyone else? There was no Christian, 2 billion Christians, they didn't find a Christian to do it? Because we were trustworthy. We Muslims were trustworthy. Now, does anyone say Muslims are trustworthy? No. Transparency International, most corrupt countries in the world, is probably the same picture as the most Muslim countries of the world. Right? Every Muslim country, just right there, most corrupt, most corrupt. We know it, you know it. Why are we here? Why are we in the UK? Did we come here for the weather? Come on, guys. Let's be honest, right? Did our parents arrive in the UK from all corners of the world to England and America because we enjoy, you know what, they make good food here and they have great weather? No. We've got better food and better weather back home. There's no justice back home. There's no justice back home. To take a breath, you have to give bribes from everyone, to the policeman, to the thief. You have to give bribes to everyone. You just bribe your way to school, bribe your way out of school, bribe your way onto a taxi, bribe your way to get a business. You don't trust. You get stopped on a traffic light. You don't trust. You get a car accident. I've seen it many times. You get a car accident, and the guy's like, you know who I'm son of. Yeah, fine, go. You don't trust, right? In an airplane, you know this is going to happen. Muslim airline, Muslim country's airline, plane is full, 300 seats full. The prince of so-and-so or the minister's son turns up with 5 people. Your ticket's cancelled, get off. Right? That's guaranteed to happen. Here, Prince William, Prince Harry, fly EasyJet. Sorry, seats are taken. No one's going to get off for you. I don't care if you're going to be the king next. That's justice. This used to be us. This used to be us, but we're not anymore. Look, the British conquered the whole of India. Right? Did India become Christian? No. Genghis Khan conquered the whole of Asia. Did the Asians join Genghis Khan's religion? No. Alexander the Great conquered from Macedonia to India. Did those people that he conquered, from the Iranians to the Persians to from the Sindhis and to the Egyptians, did any of them join his religion? No. But Islam spread across the world and everyone became Muslim. Even Genghis Khan's grandchildren became Muslim. They conquered the Muslim world and they became Muslim. No, it's never happened in history. This is our religion. Why? Why? Because truth, honesty, dignity, when they see this religion, when they see it being practiced, they know these guys, they can't lie. These guys, they don't lie. These guys, they're honest, they're trustworthy. These guys will give them the keys to our holiest site and they'll look after it. This is our legacy. Why is it gone today? We need to bring it back. This is what we need to do. And this is a picture inside the Qibli Masjid. And you know, Masjid al-Aqsa, the environment of Masjid al-Aqsa is a special place. It's the third most holiest site in Islam. You all know that. But so many different people and scholars have lived there. I'll just give you one example. This is a building where Imam Ghazali lived. Who is Imam Ghazali? Most of you have heard of him, right? Because you've heard him in a lecture, somebody talking about Ghazali, Ghazali, Ghazali. But who is this guy, right? Why is he so famous? What did he do? This guy, Ghazali, became the top most intellectual in the world of his time. So like you can imagine someone becoming the dean of Harvard, right? Or the head of Cambridge University, right? You're not just like, I'm studying at Cambridge, you're like, wow, that guy's intelligent. No, I'm a lecturer at Cambridge. Okay, this guy's the one who teaches the intelligent people, right? No, I'm the dean at Cambridge. Okay, so you're the boss of the intelligent guys who teach the other intelligent guys. You're the next level. That's what Ghazali was. He was the dean of the Nizamiya, topmost institute of learning, business, government, everything in the world. And he was 30 years old. He was only 30. And what did he do? That wasn't the most impressive thing. The most impressive thing he did was he said, I resign. Because he looked at his life and he said, you know what? My life is just books and reading and teaching. It's just dunya, dunya, dunya. I am not getting anything for the akhirah. He resigned. He resigned and he started wandering around and he ended up here. And he started thinking about Islam and religion. And then he realized again, you know what? All I'm doing is walking around just thinking about myself, my akhirah. And that's not good either. I need to think about everyone. I need to help everyone. So he wrote a book, Ihya Ulumuddin, which is very strange because you know some books, this sect they like it, and other books this sect they like it, and other books you can say, oh, you know what, you read that book, I know what type of guy you are, you know, you're a super Salafi, or you're super Sufi, or you're Sufi, you're a Barelwi, or whatever. Everyone respects this book. Everyone respects this book. It's an amazing book. You can go, you know, they say it's like diving deep into the ocean of knowledge and faith. So he wrote this book while he was here. I just thought it was nice to point this out because, again, this is our intellectual history. These people, they wrote things, now we just hear their name like that. But to me, the most impressive thing this guy ever did was he looked at his life and he said, you know what, I need to change. It's like Malcolm X. You've all heard of Malcolm X, right? Everyone's heard of Malcolm X. Let me tell you something about Malcolm X. When I heard the story, then I realized how awesome Malcolm X was. He was giving a lecture in Harvard. Malcolm X used to travel all across America giving lectures. So he was just like I'm standing here. He was just about to give a lecture to the students at Harvard, and he was just staring out the window. There's a window over there, and he's just looking out the window for a little while. So someone asked him, what are you looking at? He goes, you know, only 2 years ago, I was selling drugs to your kids outside that window. And now I'm inside here lecturing you guys. SubhanAllah. 2 years. He was outside there selling drugs, and 2 years later, he's inside here giving a lecture at the topmost university in the world. That's the power that Iman has, faith has, to transform someone. But something happened. You know, I was telling you the Muslims, we have a history of tolerance and justice. Well, not always. The Fatimids were a dynasty in Egypt, and one of their rulers was in the head. Yeah, he was mental. He had a paranoid personality, and he started persecuting Muslims and non-Muslims. He told non-Muslims you have to wear special clothes, then you can't eat certain food, then you have to do this, and then Muslims, he started persecuting everyone. And one day, he saw this event happen at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. It happens even till this day. So, there's an event that happens over here where one of the chief priests will go in, everyone in the church will be standing there with a candle. And the chief priest will go into the main building inside there, and after a little while he'll come out and his candle will be on fire, and everyone will be very happy, and then he'll light, and then all the candles will get lit up together. And they say it's a miracle, and it happens even until this now. You can see it on TV every year. They go in, they go in with the candle. Nobody sees what happens, and he comes out and the candle's on fire. Now when the Fatimid Caliph saw this, Al-Hakim, he lost his mind. He was like, this is rubbish. I can't believe this. This guy's pulling a circus trick on everyone. How can they get away with this? So he decided to kill everyone. Because that's what crazy people do. He decided to kill everyone. He started killing them, and then he broke the church into pieces. He was like, I'm not having this. And he broke the church into pieces. Injustice. Muslims didn't stop him, he got away with it. But what that led to was the Crusades. There are many reasons for the Crusades, but one of the main reasons that they were using was that look at what he did. He broke our building, even though because what happened with that Al-Hakim was one day he got on a donkey, he rode off into the sunset, and no one ever saw him again. That's it. He just disappeared from view. And even to this day, there are people who believe that he was Allah and they worship him. Anyway, what can you do? Maybe they're just as crazy as he is. But anyway, Europe was up in arms. They had been wanting to do something for a while, and they were looking for an excuse to unite. And there's no better way to unite than when you're fighting an enemy. So they found an enemy now. These Muslims, they were weak, and they had just destroyed the church as well. Even though the church had been rebuilt just straight after that. After he disappeared, the Muslims rebuilt the church. They had apologized, but it wasn't enough. The Crusades came. We know about the Crusades, right? The Crusades, they came and they saw and they killed. They killed to such a degree that when they took Jerusalem, the Crusader chroniclers himself, not the Muslims, the Crusader guy says, the blood of the people was up to the knees of our horses. The blood of the people were up to the knees of our horses. And there is historical evidence they engaged in cannibalism, and they just went all out. They didn't leave any stone unturned. They turned, they built a palace on Masjid Al-Aqsa. They turned part of the masjid, this is what we call the Marwani Mosque, they turned that into a stable. The Dome of the Rock? If you look at the Dome of the Rock, the actual rock itself, it's got like slabs cut out of it. That's because they were convinced that there was treasure buried underneath. So they started hacking away at the rock, and they just did everything they could to try and desecrate that area. Eventually, the Muslims decided enough is enough, and they came together and they said, we're going to retake Jerusalem. For us, most of us, we think it was just a question of Crusaders came, Salah ad-Din turned up later, he took it back, end the story. No, nothing is that simple. Nothing is that simple. That's like a tennis match. It's not like that. It's not how you play. It's not how you play things in this world. Before Salah ad-Din, there were so many people who came, who built up so that we could take to Jerusalem. And one of them was his teacher, Nur ad-Din. One of my friends, he said something which I thought was really profound. He said, you know the problem with the Muslims today? They want to be Salah ad-Din. No one wants to be Salah ad-Din's dad. No one wants to be Salah ad-Din's teacher. We just want to win. I wish I could play. I wish I could win the World Cup one day. Oh, do you want to start playing football? Nah. I just want to win the World Cup. I just want to hold the trophy. You got to put in the time, the effort, the training. Nah. Can I just not win the World Cup? That's us. That's the Muslims today. Nur ad-Din built this minbar. This is the actual minbar of Nur ad-Din, Salah ad-Din's teacher. It's built without using a single nail or a single bit of glue. It's a masterpiece, joined together. I'll talk about it later. But look at the confidence of Nur ad-Din. He hadn't conquered Jerusalem yet, but he said, build a minbar anyway. We're going to put it in there. Do we have that confidence? Do we have that confidence that we could do anything? And then eventually Nur ad-Din, he died, he was poisoned, and his student Salah ad-Din, who we all know, took the field, and Salah ad-Din took Jerusalem back for the Muslims. He did it by ingenious circumstances. I should talk about Salah ad-Din later, inshallah, one day. But if you know the story of Salah ad-Din, if you know what he went through before he took Jerusalem, you will be amazed. It's like watching The Bourne Ultimatum or James Bond. This guy is living a life that doesn't make sense. I'll give you one story, just one story. You know, these people, the word assassin, it comes from the Arabic hashashin, right? People who take hashish. The assassins were a group who lived up on the mountain, and their job was to kill mainly the Muslim leaders, but also the Crusader leaders as well. They wanted to create anarchy, and they wanted to kill Salah ad-Din. So one of them somehow he sneaked into the camp of Salah ad-Din, and he sneaked in. No one found him, no one caught him, and he went up to Salah ad-Din and he took his sword and he plunged it into his head. But what he didn't know was that under his turban, Salah ad-Din wore a metal helmet. So as soon as he plunged that sword in his head, it clanged off the metal helmet. Salah ad-Din used to sleep with a sword next to him. He opened his eyes and plunged the sword straight into that guy's chest, and then got rid of his bodyguard. He's like, what are you guys doing? And then the second part, it gets even scarier. So Salah ad-Din defeated the Crusaders. And when he defeated the Crusaders, he took back Jerusalem. And he took back Jerusalem on the anniversary of the night of Isra and Miraj. He could have, this is our history. Less than 100 years ago, the Crusaders had killed all the Muslims who lived there. Less than 100 years ago, the Crusaders had desecrated Masjid al-Aqsa. He could have done the same thing. And no one would have blamed him. No one would have said, that's out of order. They would have said, yeah, you know, they did it, he did it. That's what we expected. What did he do? No. Everyone can go free. You just have to pay a ransom and you can go. And the ransom was the same for everyone. Just a few pieces of gold for everyone. So the bishop of Jerusalem and the rich Knights of Jerusalem, they were leaving with their whole camel loads full of gold. They just paid their little 2 coins and they were out, walking out. And the poor Christians of Jerusalem, they had nothing. They were starving. Salah ad-Din looked at this and he said, I can't, these guys, you know, they're literally like, he felt so disgusted. Look at your leaders are walking away with all the money and they're leaving you guys to be slaves. Here, take my money. He gave his own money, ransomed them all. When his soldiers saw what he was doing, they were like, well, yeah, we'll take our money as well. Have you ever heard of a conquering army paying the ransom of the people they conquered so that they could go away and be free? That's our legacy. This is our history. No one else's. This is our history. So, when he took Jerusalem, he did not desecrate anything. He did not destroy anything. And Richard the Lionheart, the king of England, this country, when he was leaving because he was defeated, he held up his shield to his face and he walked this way so he wouldn't see Jerusalem. He goes, if I did not take it, I don't deserve to see it. And to be honest, that is one of the reasons why to this day there's a debate amongst Muslim scholars. Should Muslims go to Jerusalem or not? Should we visit? Is it somewhere that Muslims should be visiting? Some scholars say yes, you should go, support the economy, third holiest site in Islam. And others, which is actually the majority opinion, is that it's not acceptable for Muslims to go. It's like Muslims today saying, oh, where are you going on holiday? I'm going to Aleppo. What? What are you going to do there? I'll go, there's some sights to see and there's a nice masjid or whatever. Like, what are you talking about, man? You can't go there. There's not somewhere to go on holiday. So there's a difference of opinion. Obviously, you can refer to your scholars for the right opinion, inshallah. Nearly finished now. After the time of Salah ad-Din, the Ottomans ruled Jerusalem. And you know, the Dome of the Rock, it didn't used to look like this. The Dome of the Rock used to look like this. It wasn't golden. The dome wasn't golden and the building itself wasn't covered in those tiles. That's all new. This was built at the time of the Umayyads, and this was done at the time of Suleiman Qanuni, or Suleiman the Magnificent, the Ottoman Sultan. So he ordered his architects to make this dome stand out and to put all those tiles on. Anyway, after the Ottoman time, I'm going to finish with coming up to the modern day. Probably the only time in a masjid that we've discussed Theodore Herzl. But anyway, the Jews, remember, had been kicked out of Jerusalem. They'd been dispersed across the world. They hadn't been allowed to come back to Jerusalem. Until when? Until Umar Anhu came back. You should know this. The Muslims have been the biggest protectors of the Jewish people in history. Everyone else has persecuted them. Everyone else has tried to eliminate them. And if it wasn't for the Muslims, they would have been destroyed. Umar Anhu, when he took Jerusalem, he invited those families who were refugees for generations living outside Jerusalem. He said, come back to Jerusalem. When the Jews were being kicked out of Spain, Muslims and Jews were being kicked out of Spain by the Catholic Reconquista. The Muslims, they went to Morocco, right? It's next door, it's Muslim. Where would the Jews go? Where can they go? They don't have anywhere to go. So the Ottoman Sultan, Sultan Bayezid II, the son of Muhammad Fatih, he said, come to my country. You're safe here. We Muslims have always been the protectors, not just of the Jews, but anyone who has lived under us. Except maybe one or two instances, this has been what we've been done. But the Jews, they had something, they wanted to go back to Jerusalem. They wanted to visit, and they had a dream. What was their dream? Whenever there was a Jewish ceremony, whenever there was a Jewish wedding, they would say something to each other which should be a lesson to us. For 1,000 years, they would say, next year in Jerusalem. We have this wedding, next year in Jerusalem. We have this Passover feast, next year in Jerusalem. They kept the dream of Jerusalem alive in their hearts. Doesn't matter where they went in the world, they kept the dream of Jerusalem alive in their hearts. Next year in Jerusalem, next year in Jerusalem. Because if you keep the dream alive, someone, somewhere will make that dream come true. Do we have a dream? Do the Muslims have a dream? What's our dream? Next year in Dubai, that's our dream, right? Useless. That's all our dreams are. Nothing. Just holiday. No. They had a dream. You have to respect that. A people who have a dream, they have hope. If they have hope, they can achieve something. And this man came to fulfill that dream. What was he? He was a journalist. He's just a journalist. But he said, no, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to make next year in Jerusalem happen. So he worked. He spoke to everyone he could. He negotiated. He got on side the Rothschilds, the Rothschild family. You know how rich the Rothschilds are? The banking family? I'll tell you how rich they are. They decide the price of gold when they meet at his house in London every week, even now. They're on another level from us. And we look at it like, oh, you know, conspiracy, they control the world. It's bad, you know. They worked hard. That's what they were. They didn't open a chicken chip shop and then try to get diabetes as quickly as possible. They achieved something in this world. So he connected with these guys, and then he wanted to make a home for the Jewish people happen. So who are you going to go to? Who was controlling the land for Israel? The Ottomans. This guy, Sultan Abdul Hamid II. He was controlling it just over 100 years ago. So they went to him and he met him. And remember, it was difficult for him to meet him because Herzl's just another journalist. This guy is the Sultan. This guy is an emperor. But you know, he worked hard, he made connections, this, that, and the other. He finally got to meet him. And he said, listen, the Ottoman Empire is in debt. The Ottoman Empire is just sunk in debt. They're bankrupt. They need money. What does Herzl have? Money. He's got powerful financiers. Listen, you give me a piece of land in Palestine, you give that for us, I'll sort out all your money problems. Done. No problem. It's just a little piece of land anyway. What did Sultan Abdul Hamid II do? He got up, and anecdotally, he got up and he left, and he came back with a bit of sand in his hand. And he said, even if you gave me all the money in the world, I could not give you this much of the land of Palestine. It's not mine to give. It's been watered by the blood of the Muslims. He was not a sellout. How many times can we say that nowadays, right? He could have sold out very quickly. What are you talking about? All my money problems are gone? Ka-ching. Right? No, I'm not a sellout. I might be a lot of things, but I will not sell out. That's why 100 years later we're still talking about him today. Right? Not about all the sellouts that will come later. So, but he did tell Herzl one thing. He said, before, well, Herzl, because he saw that Herzl's face was down. As he was leaving, he told Herzl something. He goes, keep your money. Because when we die, you probably get the land for free anyway. If we die, you could take it. You'll probably take it for free anyway. But while we live, you will not get a single piece of it. And that's exactly what happened. This young man, Lawrence of Arabia. You all heard of Lawrence of Arabia, right? Lawrence, he grew up like everyone does, reading comic books, reading stories. But different to us, He wanted to be a crusader when he grew up. He wanted to be, you know, like the sword and, you know, battling and doing all sorts of things. He wanted to, you know, be a knight. But there was something different about him. Because unlike the rest of us, you know, we're like, I want to be Batman, but that ain't gonna happen. Fat man maybe, you're not Batman. So, but he made it happen. He said something once. He goes, a man who dreams, he's not, you know, he's just a dreamer. A man who dreams when he's asleep, he's just a dreamer. But a man who dreams when he's awake, he's a dangerous man, because he might make his dreams come true. I dream when I'm awake. He wanted something and he made it happen. He went and he dressed up like this character. Look at him. He looks like an Arab, right? He learned Arabic, he looked like them, he went and lived amongst them, he was part of their culture, they trusted him, and then he did it. Hey, why do you always have to listen to the Turks? They boss you around all the time. That's really bad. Maybe we should fight them. They're like, yeah, you know, that is bad. What do the Turks know anyway? We're Arabs, we're so much better than everyone. Yeah, maybe you should fight them. Yeah, we should fight them. We don't have any weapons. Hey, my friends in the Home Office got weapons. I'll give you some weapons. Oh yeah, well, we don't have a flag. Don't worry, I'll get some flags made. Literally wired down to London and said, make me about like 10 flags. That's why all the Arab countries, all their flags look the same, right? Red, white, green, and black. All of them. Egypt, Syria, all the countries, they all look the same. Why? Because they're made by the same guy somewhere in an office here in London. He just made them all up. Because this guy asked him to. And the Muslims went along with it. Yeah, you're right. You know what? We are Arabs. It's high time us Arabs got some piece of action. So, Lawrence, when the Ottomans were busy fighting on all fronts, Lawrence turned up and attacked with the Sharif and his forces from the back. The Turks never forgave him. They never forgave the Arabs. That's why they left Islam. That's why they rejected Islam. The Turks were like, you know what? Screw you. If this is it, 500 years, we're Muslim, you're Muslim, this is how you're going to treat us? You keep your religion. We don't want it. We don't want anything to do with you guys. Yeah, what? Hijab? Let me ban that. This beard? You get rid of that. We'll close down the mosque, we'll turn them into museums. We don't want anything to do with you guys. 500 years we've been protecting you guys, and this is how you repay us? Go to hell. That's what happened. Eventually, Jerusalem fell, and our friend Lawrence, this is Jerusalem falling, and the General Allenby is walking into Jerusalem, having taken Jerusalem. Look what it says here, the newspaper. Jerusalem is rescued by British after 673 years of Muslim rule. It was Christmas Day, it was a Christmas present. What did Lawrence do? Lawrence, he used to wear his Arab clothes. He quickly changed out of them, put on his uniform, and marched in like the crusader he was. He got his dream. And Jerusalem left. It was gone. And after that, obviously, Israel was proclaimed, and Herzl is considered the father of Israel. And for a while, Jerusalem was still controlled by Jordan. But in 1967, after a disastrous war, then the Masjid al-Aqsa was taken over by Israel, which remains to this day. Why do I tell you all these stories? You know this part, right? You know, don't look at history as just something that happened in the past. It's something that's happening now. It's happening to us. And learn from the lessons. What are the lessons that we can learn from Jerusalem? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught us many lessons. First lesson is that this Jerusalem, when we respected ourselves and we respected other people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us Jerusalem at the hands of Umar anhu and at the hands of Salah ad-Din. But when we're not worthy of respect, then we're never going to get it. You will never ever see Jerusalem again. You will always hear it as a stab in the heart. The real reason this fell, the real reason why it doesn't belong to us anymore, is because we don't deserve it. We are not worth the sand that Salah ad-Din walked on, let alone what Umar anhu walked on. Look, not even just in terms of courage, that's definitely one of them, but look at what they were like. When they were oppressed, they did not respond with oppression. Salah ad-Din, when Richard the Lionheart, his horse got shot out from underneath him. So Richard the Lionheart was on the floor. Salah ad-Din wasn't like, that's it, finish him. Salah ad-Din said, send him a horse. Send him another horse. Send him his horse. What happened in Westminster on Wednesday, and what happened in Paris, and what keeps happening again and again and again and again. We see it, right? We all, everyone in this room, we felt it, right? If you're a Muslim and you didn't feel a little bit like gutted when that happened, then you're heartless. There was a mom, she was going to school to pick up her kids. What did she do that she needed to be killed like that? Nothing. What was her crime? Nothing. But this is what happens when we turn to injustice, when we turn to being unjust to other people, when we turn against our own values, we will never get what we deserve. We will never get victory. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never give us success. He will never let us see success. But when we go to our own values, and what are our values? Our values are actually values of safety. When the Muslims had Jerusalem, both the Jews and the Christians lived there in peace. When the Muslims ruled any land, the non-Muslims lived in peace. The Muslims ruled India for 1,000 years. Aren't there still more Hindus than Muslims in India? If we were evil, we would have finished it. We would have done some ethnic cleansing, na'uzubillah. But we're not. That's not our history. The Muslims lived in Spain for 800 years. When we got kicked out, was there even one Muslim left to do the adhan? Nope. Because that's not our history. Our history is one of tolerance, our history is one of justice, and our history, inshallah, is one where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we are going true to our values, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us success. And if we're not true to our values, if we become that which we dislike, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never give us success. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us, inshallah, to be worthy one day of going to Jerusalem, not as tourists, but as saviors, as people who bring justice back to the furthest mosque and the city of Jerusalem. Subhanallah, bihamdika, nastaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk, wa jazakumullah khairan.
Middle Path Radio, your number one online Islamic talk station.